Thank you so much for joining me. If you haven't been here before, my name is Tracy, and this is a DIY upcycling channel where we create clothes, purses, and accessories out of thrifted, unwanted items, boring clothes out of the closet, breathe new life into them, and create some fun pieces. Today, I'm going to do 2 pairs of jeans because I could not decide which ones I wanted to do, so I'm going to do them both. They kind of start out the same. I'll be able to kind of do those simultaneously. Now, we are going to do some painting and bleaching and distressing and patching and having all kinds of fun. So I have my paint gear on. I have some bleached paint splatter pants. If I get bleach and paint on them, they're just going to get better. I have a paint shirt. I have a beret that I added some little vintage metal buttons to. The paint shirt, I added some big pockets for my phone and glasses, things like that. I did embroidery of my signature. And the best part of any crafter's paint shirt is the note on the back. Okay, so I'm just having fun. A lot of times I paint and bleach in my good clothes. I kind of get in trouble for that a little bit online, but the paint shirt, I just want to tell you, I've had beginners ask me, what is a good project for me? You know, I'm nervous to start something. I'm new with this. What about a paint shirt? Go to the thrift store. Maybe you have a men's oversized shirt and just go to town. Try anything you've ever wanted to try. Maybe some bleaching, maybe some dyeing, embroidering, applique, pockets, lettering, you name it. It's a great piece to start with because no matter how it turns out, you're still going to have a practical piece that you can use. It's not going to waste, and it's probably still going to be the best looking paint shirt in town. All right, let's get started. Okay, I'm starting with 2 pairs of men's jeans. One is a 38-inch waist, one is a 36-inch waist. Now they're way oversized for me, but I'll be bringing them, the sides in a little bit, one more than the other at the very end, very simply. Now these are both Bailey's Point. I had kind of a jackpot of these Bailey Point jeans. You know, when someone donates, they usually donate like items, and I just love these. Nice straight wide legs, big deep pockets, high rise. That's what I'm starting with. Now, both of these will be sewn, but the jeans I'm wearing, if you don't want to do any sewing or you want to make quite a few to just sell, these were completely done with no sew. They're bleached and painted, and I cut some off the bottom, and you'll see how I bleach and paint. I'll do these exactly pretty much like I did these, so keep that in mind if you're not a sewer. Okay, the first thing I need to do is cut some off the bottom. These are way too long. Now I'm going to call these the doily stencil pants, and I'm going to call these paint splatters. So on the doily stencil pants, I put them on and I stuck a pin right, I want them 1 inch up off the floor. I want to roll them up and I want them to be a little cropped. So I stuck a pin where they hit about 1 inch above the floor. And then on the paint splatter pants, I want them cropped. And I'm going to cut them off just below my calf. I stuck a pin to mark that as well. Now all I'm going to do is wherever the pin is, I'm going to measure it. And mine is at 6.5 inches. I'm going to make a mark. I'm going to make a mark all the way around the pant leg and cut 1 layer at a time. Now my paint splatter jeans are going to be 8.5 from the bottom because I want them more cropped. Okay, so now what I need to do is cut the sides open so that I can get in there and work. So what I need to do is go to the side seams, and I am going to cut, here's the side seam. I am going to cut 1/2 inch behind that side seam on the back of the pant leg from the very bottom all the way up to the very top. Now I just want to cut some holes and do some distressing. The holes will be patched from behind, and I'll just do a little spot of distressing. So I am just going around my jeans, and I'm taking my tailor's chalk and I'm just marking out some squiggly sort of lines, you know, kind of like an odd shaped pond or something like that. Now all the odd shaped ones, I'm just going to cut that out, and I'll do something a little different to the rectangle. Okay, so here's the placement of my holes all cut out. Now the back. Now what I want to do to the rectangle is just sort of distress it and shred it up. I'm just taking a small cutting board, putting it underneath this layer, and I'm taking a Slice brand box cutter, but it can be any box cutter, should work. And I'll put a link to this in my description. It's from Amazon. And I am just going to cut that up. Now what I want to do, the pocket that is underneath this tag, I am going to cut it off, and I'm just staying inside those seams. I'm not going to seam rip this and try to make it perfect because I don't want it to be. This will fray and be cute around the edges here. And now we have a nice dark patch, which is kind of fun. Now I want some fun, colorful patches to patch from the underside of the jeans where our odd shapes are. And I recently found, I think this is kind of old, it's a sleeping bag, I believe. It has snaps and stuff, just like an old sleeping bag, but that has a lot of fun fabrics. I already cut one out, and I'm going to use assorted patches from here to patch up the jeans. Okay, so now all I'm doing is just taking rectangle and square patches and patching these from behind, and I'll do one with you. So I have this hole left, and I'm just taking a chunk, and I'm just kind of fine-tuning it now to the size of that hole. I want it to be, I like mine to be a good inch. I don't want any mistake that it's not going, or any question that it's not going to fit. So I'm just kind of sizing that up, cutting this to size. And then I'm going to open this up and pin it on the underneath side. That rectangle that we shredded right here, I put a little patch over that as well. And I'm just going to pin this on. Okay, so this is what it's still open on the sides. This is what the front is looking like. Now the washer and dryer will make these holes fray all around these patches, which will make it really cute. Here's what the back side's looking like. Now I'm going to show you what the underneath side's looking like. Okay, now they're inside out. That's what the front looks like with the patches, and the back. Now I'm just going to my machine and sew every single one of these on. I'm going to use a fairly small straight stitch, gold colored thread, not metallic, and I'm just going to stay close to the edge, about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge, and get them all sewn. Now I just want to add some denim patches, just a few. I have kind of a larger one and smaller one. The smaller one I'm going to put right there. The larger one, I'm going to overlap this one a little bit. And I'm just going to get those pinned on. Okay, and I did the same to the back. A smaller patch just sort of overlapping where I cut the pocket off, and then a larger one right there. Now I'm just going to my machine and sew those on the way we did the patches underneath. Just a small straight stitch, gold colored thread all the way around the patches. Okay, so that's what that's looking like on the front. Now I just want to do a little bit of floral just down one side of the leg and a little bit on the back. And I have some scraps here. This was a robe at one time. I'm just going to cut some flowers out of here in the clusters. I want to keep it simple to sew. This isn't all about the flowers, it's about the layering. So I'm just going to get some of these cut out. Okay, so I have 2 little chunks here. I am just going to get those pinned on. And now on the back, I cut and pinned one out and just put it right there. That is real close to this cluster, and so when I sew these together, this will appear to sort of wrap around the leg. And now I'm just going to get these sewn on. Sewing it just like I did the patches, a straight stitch, stay close to the edges. You can use a zigzag stitch if you want. I'm just not going to. Okay, so these are done for now. Still open on the sides, and they're looking just kind of right now, right? But it's about the layering, so trust the process. You know, the bleaching and the painting, they're going to be a whole different look. Now I'm going to set these aside for now, and I'm going to work on the other jeans and patch and distress them. And this will go a lot quicker because I already went through all the details of how to do a lot of this. And so basically I'm just going to show you where and what I do. Okay, so these are my paint splatter jeans. I have them sideways. I am starting with a couple patches on the front. Now I went to my scrap denim and cut out about a 7.5 by 7.5 piece of denim and sewed a little piece of striped rectangle denim right there. And I'll put that on the lower leg here. And then I have a rectangle of a striped denim that I'm going to lay there. Now I'm just going to get these pinned on. Now before I put any patches on the back, I decided to cut one pocket off. On this one, it's the opposite of the tag. Now on the back side, I just have kind of a big square that I'm going to lay there. Another little pinstripe. I think I will just sort of off-center it and layer it there. And then I have a little stripe. I'm overlapping the pocket a little bit right there. And now I'll get these pinned on. And once I get them pinned on, I'm going to go ahead and sew them before I get too much going on. I like to kind of keep it orderly because this will be pretty distressed and patchy. So I will sew the front ones on and the back ones just like I did on the other jeans, using a straight stitch, gold colored thread, staying close to the edges. Okay, so I recently got this awesome vintage upholstery fabric, and I cut a square out, and I'm going to put it, there's the bottom of my pant leg, I'm going to put it about there. I'll pin that. Now I have this scrap, It's actually from one of the very first wedding blankets I ever bought. It was in this color. I tell you, I saved onto every tiny little scrap. And I have another piece about this size, and that is about all that's left of that old blanket. Now, I won't pin this on. It's kind of tattered and vintagey looking. But after I sew this on at my machine, I am going to lay this down and just overlap the bottom of that a little bit. And I will just do 2 rows of zigzag stitching. And when I'm all done, I'll trim that off right there. Now, before I go to my machine, I'm just going to do one more little patch on the back leg. And I have this little scrap, kind of a cool fabric. It's all I have, so I'm not going to try to cut it down. I want it as big as I can, so it is just going to be an odd shape. And I'm going to just pin that right there. Now I'm just going to take my tailor's chalk and draw some odd shapes that I will want to distress. Now there's only one shape I'm actually going to cut out. The rest I am going to distress with my box cutter. And it's this one right above this big patch on the front. Now all the rest I'm going to distress with my box cutter like I did that first pair of jeans. Only when I'm done, I'm going to do one extra step. And I'll show you what that is when I get these all destroyed. Okay, here's what I'm going to do different. I'm just going to cut out some of these strips that I just ripped up. That way you can see. I'm going to patch these with a denim patch from behind. And that way you can see more of the denim patch. Okay, so now everything that I distressed and this hole that I cut out, I am going to patch with scrap denim. Something like this, I'm going to use the lighter side showing through the hole, so there's a little bit of contrast. So just make sure my patch is big enough to cover everything. Lay it down, pin it on, and then when I get these all pinned on, I will sew them all straight stitch, stay close to the edges. Okay, so this is what we have, and we're ready to sew those sides back together. Okay, this is easy. So you just take the 2 sides, line them up. I am putting wrong sides together. The seam will fray and be on the outside. Use a 1/4 inch seam allowance and go from the top all the way down to the bottom. And once you've done that, go back and do it again. Double stitch that so it's extra durable. Now, these are my bigger pants. So I'm actually going to come in 3/4 of an inch and taper it down to 1/4 of an inch, real subtle, because I need the waist a little bit smaller. So when you're purchasing pants, keep in mind, you're going to lose an inch in the waist, an inch in the hips, and 1/2 inch on the legs. So just buy them a little extra big. Let me just mention this too. Use a denim needle, a jeans needle, and some seams are thicker than others on certain jeans. And so if your seams seem extra thick that you're not going to get your needle through or you're going to break a needle, you can put a block of wood under there and hammer it just with your garage hammer. Hammer those seams down. It breaks them up and smooths them or flattens them out. Here's another important tip. Always start at the top at the waistband and not at the bottom, because sometimes they don't line up for some reason perfectly. And I could just trim that off to even it up at the bottom, but at the top, at the waistband, it'd be way more noticeable. Okay, the sewing is done. Now, I'm going to take these upstairs, bleach and paint them. Now, you can bleach and paint yours before you do all the embellishments. The reason I didn't is because I wouldn't have been able to finish this in one day if I had bleached and painted them first and then did the distressing and stuff. I wouldn't be able to wash those to get them framed because the paint would be too fresh. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. The paint needs time to cure, so it would have taken me a week to film this. So I'm doing mine last. You do whatever makes you comfortable. Okay, so I'm using pure bleach. I poured it in a bowl and I have a white rag. You don't want anything with color. This is a terry cloth. I've used t-shirts. It really doesn't matter a whole lot. These jeans are going to have a little less bleach than the paint splatter ones will. And I am going to try to avoid those flowers, these fabrics a little bit, because sometimes they can just get so bleached out that you don't even have much color. So that's the only downfall of doing this last, really. So I am just going to saturate my rag and get started. Now, a lot of people will, after they're done bleaching, give their garments like a soda ash bath or hydrogen peroxide. I don't do that. I just make sure when I'm done, I rinse this super good. And the main key thing, using pure bleach, yes, there is a danger of it eating through your clothes, but I never leave it on over 10 minutes. Never. Because then it will start eating through your clothes. And if it hasn't started bleaching within 10 minutes and you're using pure bleach, you've got a dud that probably will not bleach anyway. So don't leave that bleach sitting on there. Go ahead and get it rinsed and chalk it off to a dud. Or you can test your fabric with just some bleach and a Q-tip or something on the inside and see what it's going to do. Now, this is already starting to bleach. It's not going to be a dud. So this is time sensitive here. So I'm going to grab the other jeans and get them going too. Now on these, I am going to do a lot more bleaching. And when you do a lot of bleaching, make sure you get into that crotch area, because if everything else is light and this is dark, that's not a good look. So I am just going to start swiping. And when these are the color that I want them to be, bleached enough, I'm going to take them to my laundry room sink and I'm just going to rinse them super well. I'm going to wash these on a warm, normal setting that I would wash jeans on with laundry soap. And then I'm going to throw them in the dryer. And these will have lots of fraying when they come out of the dryer, which I love, but sometimes they fray to excess with some long strings, and you have to spend a little bit of time, trimming those off. These are bleaching nicely. It's almost time to rinse, but I'm going to let these sit for about another 5 minutes. They're not bleaching quite as nice. Okay, these are bleaching fairly well, but I don't want to leave this bleach sitting on there any longer, so I'm going to go get them rinsed and washed and dried. How cute did these turn out? So cute. Now, these are the ones I'm going to do the doily stenciling. And what this is one of those plastic doilies that you can get at like party stores or probably even Walmart party goods supply section. And they're basically kind of just like placemats. I think they're vinyl. And that's what I'm going to use as my stencil. I've had mine for a really long time, wanting to do this project. I mean, years. So I've never actually done this stencil before like this. So, but I'm going to try it. I have done lots of painting on jeans. Now, I am just going to use basic white acrylic craft paint. And I am not going to mix textile medium with it. I have in the past, but I'm only going by my experience. My experience is there is no difference in the longevity of the paint. It's supposed to make the paint adhere better to the pants. The only thing it does for me is dilutes the paint and makes it a little more transparent and not as pretty and crisp. So I'm not using textile medium. But there's a key to this. There's a difference between, okay, so why do we wear smocks and protective clothing when we paint? Because paint doesn't come out of clothes. It's not going to just wash out easily. And there's a difference between dry and cured. Now, this will be dry overnight. I could wear them tomorrow, but they will not be cured for about 1 to 2 weeks. And I would go 2 weeks to be safe. And that just means all the moisture has been completely dried out of the paint. It's adhered to your pants. And then you can wash it. Do not wash these. The pants I'm wearing, the paint splatter, I didn't wash for 1 week. And now I've washed them twice and they are perfectly fine. The paint softens up. Okay. I don't mean to rattle on so much, but I just think that's a really important point. Now, I have some white paint on my plate, and you would think I'd want to use a stipple brush for stenciling, right? But I just think that will take me days. So I am going to my grubby little brush that I use on so many different things, and I am going to stencil with that. Now, let me pull this in a little closer because I'm going to start towards the top. Now I have a big bare spot here. I am just going to lay my doily down and cross my fingers that this is going to be pretty. And I'm just going to dip it in my paint, you know, make sure it's not all globbed on. And I am going to pounce up and down. I know a lot of us have done stenciling over the years on various things, maybe not clothes. And I am just going to pounce. Now, I will go a little bit outside the lines. The lines are so skinny that it's inevitable, and it's okay. Okay, so now I think I'm going to overlap this and come into this area a little more. Okay, so I think that's good for the front. I'm going to move this over to my table so that this can dry somewhat so I can turn it over, and I'm going to do the front of the other pants with the paint splatter. They turned out cute too. I typically do this outside, and I just take a big brush and just kind of dip it in paint and whack it in the air and have all the paint spray all over the pants. But it's cold outside, so I am going to try to simulate what that paint splatter would look like. Now, I'm using this brush. It has a point at the end. It's called 12 round, but don't get hung up on that kind of stuff. As long as it's pointy and not too small. And now I'm just going to make kind of dots and dashes and smears. A lot of it, I will try to go the same direction, like as if I had splattered it, it would make kind of a stream of paint. So, and don't overthink this, because then it won't look right. It'll look too uniform and perfect. You know, maybe a smear there. And I'm just going to do that all over the pants. Some, maybe a few little dots in a row, a little smush. And maybe I stood on the other side and splattered it. So now maybe my pattern would go this way. Okay, front is done with the white. Now I'm going to turn this over. Yeah, I should wait for it to dry a little more, but it'll be okay. And do the same thing on the back. This is one area where drinking a lot of coffee and having a little bit of a shaky hand comes in handy, because you don't want these to be perfect. Okay, so I washed my brush, loaded up my plate with some black, same thing, only in black. And I'm going to do the same thing. Ratio, I would say black to white, not quite 50. I would say a little less black is what I use. You do whatever you want. When I'm all done with the back, I am going to finish the back side of the doily pants and let those dry overnight. Okay, that's about it. I'm going to let these dry overnight, and next time you see me, I'll be wearing one of them. I'll show you both. I'll try them both on and let you know what they're looking like. I'm so bummed I accidentally deleted where I chatted with you for a second and thanked you so much for watching. So I'll just pipe my voice in like this and thank you so much for watching. First I'm showing you the paint splatter and then the doily stencil. Have a wonderful week.